Goshen Theater Drama Club members, Goshen Theater fans, artists, and friends, welcome to Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks, episode 4. We are a month into this endeavor. Do you know how long it takes, guys, to create a good habit? 21
15 days.
Yeah, yes. The point is, we've
Great
exceeded it. Everyone has a different answer. 14
Some of
years.
us take to it a little better than others.
Oh, that's true. Joining us today, we have Paul Rigano and the Quarantine Queens. As you all know, I am Amber Burgess. I'm the managing director. Woo! I'm the managing director of the Goshen Theater and the producing director of the Goshen Theater Drama Club. I've been here in Indiana for a long time. Used to live in Chicago, lived in Cincinnati, traveled the country doing art and drama and music. And I'm happy to be here today. Take it away, Miss Katie.
Hello, friends. I'm Miss Katie. I'm an actress. I'm originally from Missouri. I have a BFA in musical theater from Missouri State University. My family's still in Missouri. Hello, family. I live in Chicago. That's where I'm based out of now. I know Miss Amber, and you may know me because I worked for Rom Barn Theater for a few seasons. I was also the camp director there, and now I'm the camp director for Goshen Theater Drama Club this summer. So that's a little bit about me. Molly?
Hey, it's Miss Molly. I have my BFA in musical theater performance from Western Michigan University, but I grew up here in Goshen. I was raised here. I love Goshen. I'm an intern here at the Goshen Theater, and I'm also going to be the choreographer for the Goshen Theater Drama Club this summer. So register because we're going to dance.
And Paul.
Hi, my name is Paul Rigano. I am a musical theater music director and composer. I'm half of the composing team, the Rigano Songbook, with my brother David. Check us out on YouTube. And I've worked I recently worked on the Broadway revival of West Side Story. I am working on the upcoming revival of The Music Man on Broadway. I worked on the pre-Broadway run of Be More Chill out in New Jersey at the Two River Theater, and Broadway Bounty Hunter, which moved off Broadway, yet at Barrington Stage, and lots of other fun places, including the Round Barn Theater with Amber and Miss Katie. And I'm so psyched to be here.
An anecdote from this week, our Goshen Theater Drama Club music director, Juan Carlos, posted a photo from a year ago, and he was like, it was so great a year ago to see the show, and it was Be More Chill. So he saw Be More Chill a year ago this week. And I was like, small world. So last week's recap, I feel like we had a really great episode last week. We had our best audience response that we have ever had. We had more views this week than we ever had. And maybe that has something to do with our special guest star.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
So last week's topic was the end of our audition series. It was the auditioning for the professional theater episode. And we went over a lot of topics last week about like how to sort of prepare yourself for a professional audition. So much of it was about like who you know and being a good person no matter where you're at and not being scared of professional auditions. But we did get some questions from our students last week that we're going to go ahead and answer this week. I think, Molly, you've got student question 1. What did you get?
I do. So this is a really good question, especially if you live in Goshen, which I'm guessing a lot of you do. The question is, if it's all about knowing people, how do you get to know people when you live in a small town? So I grew up here in Goshen, which is a small town, and I did have a chance to get to know people. So it's really interesting because there's so many people already in your community that you don't even realize that are already amazing connections for you. Like for me, when I did my first show when I was 9 years old at Round Barn Theater, I met Amber, and now I'm working with Amber today, and I'm working for the drama club, and that professional connection has literally lasted my entire life so far. So definitely check out all of the civic theaters. If you go back to our video about civic theaters, get to know those directors at all of those different theaters, audition at as many different places as you can. Even your friends that are doing theater with you, they're going to be great connections later as you all go off into the world. But I would say to start looking at maybe some summer programs or theater opportunities elsewhere as well. I know when I got into high school, I went to Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp. It's in Michigan. You can do like a summer program in theater there. I did one summer at Interlochen, which is another fine arts camp. And then the summer before my senior year of high school, I started really looking at those programs more in depth. I did a program at NYU Steinhardt. They had a 3-week summer intensive in musical theater. So I went to New York for 3 weeks. I also found a summer program called College Audition Advantage, and it was up in Connecticut. So then I went there and I did that for 10 days. So research a lot of those different programs. The people that I met doing those programs are still great connections for me today. There was a student who was like one of my friends at NYU the summer I was there, and he has been on Broadway and was just on tour playing Evan Hansen and Dear Evan Hansen. So yeah, you're gonna meet people and it'll happen naturally, but do seek out other opportunities too.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like even I've met people at auditions and made friends at auditions, and then those folks recommended me for work. And I've done that dozens of times, recommended people that I met in an audition. Because sometimes it's hard to find folks as a casting director. So they want to they'll use their friends as a way to get to know performers. So always be nice.
Yeah, I think it's also just taking every opportunity that's presented to you. I also grew up in a small town in Missouri, and it was all about, if there wasn't an opportunity for me, it was making my own opportunities. So be your own captain. If there's not a show going on and you want to do a show, get a bunch of friends together, read a play, figure it out. Just figure it out. That's the name of the game. You have to push yourself. It's a very independent job, right? No one's going to help you. They can recommend you, but you still got to put the work in and be seen as a good actor. So if you're working hard, you're taking every opportunity. For instance, you took an audition at the Civic Theater, but you didn't get in, but you went to the director and you said, hey, is there something I can do for the show? And you became part of the tech crew on that show. You've now got your foot in the door. Now you know people for when you audition for them again. So it's simple things like that, taking every opportunity, whether or not it was the one that you thought you were going to take, or it's one that you've created for yourself.
My favorite story about this is, it's not even my story, but a friend of mine was at a discussion, a panel, I guess, with some casting directors, and someone in the audience, some college-age student, sort of snarkily raised their hand and said, well, isn't it true that it's really just all about who you know? And without missing a beat, the casting director turned around and said, then go know someone. And, where do you think, Stephen Sondheim, the greatest living composer, possibly composer ever in the history of musical theater, is from a small town in Pennsylvania. People who are somebody all started in, somewhere else. On my first day on West Side Story, I didn't think that I would know almost anybody in the room. And I turned around and there's someone that I went to college with up at this small town upstate New York, that I for much of my professional career, I thought, gee, I wonder if it was really worth it to go up to this tiny college where I didn't really make any professional connections. And that person that I went to college with is now a Drama Desk nominee for a Broadway show. So.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. And I think, Molly, that's such good advice to just get involved where you are. There's that old adage, it's bloom where you're planted.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I like that too. Speaking of Stephen Sondheim, in a fit of desperation at the age of 15, I wrote him a letter. I know. And he actually wrote me back, which is very sweet. But I basically said, I'm feeling hopeless because I want to be an actor and everybody's telling me not to because it's not practical. And he wrote back and said, as long as you're young and you have a support structure, take risks and don't worry about I need to be an actor in a particular place to be successful. He said, literally, there's theater all over the country. There's exciting opportunities everywhere. Take advantage of the path that unfolds in front of you. And that changed my philosophy a lot. It was very formative for me, but yeah, he used to write letters back to, he used to write letters back to everybody. And I don't know if he does that anymore. I'm sure he doesn't even get letters anymore because people don't write letters, because I was 15 in the dark ages.
I love that though, Amber, because my biggest thing has always been to just do everything you possibly can, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like in college, I got 3 main stage shows my entire college career. And 2 of those didn't come until my senior year. And I was really concerned because I wasn't getting cast in the main stage shows. But my professors pulled me aside, and one of them literally told me, she's like, you're going to succeed because you have the determination to go out and find your own path. You don't rely on it to be just through school,
Right.
which is what our Broadway of that time is, right? You get the main stage part, you've made it. No, that's not how it works. You have to go out and find other opportunities. And I just think that's great. You have to change what you think successful is. Broadway is not necessarily everyone's successful story. And you have to be okay with that. You have to find success your own way. And I think success for me has changed over the years into just being able to do what I love and support myself doing it. Like,
right. And Broadway's just one piece of the puzzle. Like, I know, Paul, you make your pay partially from the Broadway now, but like, it's just one piece of the puzzle. It's not like now that you've done a Broadway contract, you have met the king of Broadway, and the king of Broadway
I now
has
work at Broadway Inc. Yeah.
Yeah. Here you go. You've been Broadwayed. That's not how it goes, sadly.
Right. Unfortunately, no. I mean, although in the vein of who you know, one of the reasons that I got Music Man is I made very good friends with someone who was on West Side, who I knew was on Music Man, and I said to him, you know, I'm not sure where I want to go, what I want to do next, and I'd love your advice about where I'm going in my career. And he said, sure, let's talk. And over the course of the conversation, I brought up that I would love to work on Music Man, and he said, well, I'll call the MD, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then I feel like that's such a good point too, is when you do make those connections, make sure to follow up with those people and be like, can we get coffee? I'd love to get your advice on this and this and this, and like stay in touch with those people and just talk to them about their journey too.
Don't forget to love them for other reasons.
Yeah.
That's big. Okay, that's awesome. That was such a good question.
Yeah.
That's such an insightful question. Our next question, Miss Katie, you had this one. What is this one?
yes, I do. It says, what is a triple threat? Very great question, right? We were joking before the recording started what we could say for this. But the true answer for what a triple threat is it means you are a strong singer, a strong dancer, and a strong actor. And all those skills are very even and they're very high, right? You have to be able to hold the whole thing down. So ingenues are usually triple threats. They've got the big dance numbers, they've got the big songs, and they have the most lines usually. So that's what a triple threat is. Any other thoughts on triple threats, friends?
Yeah, I think too, a true triple threat is a rare person, like someone who truly is an engaging actor and dancer and singer. But also, I think that composers, lyricists, and book writers understand the rareness of the true triple threat. So I think even if you have a role like an ingenue role or a lead role where all of those things are valued, I find that some of those things are valued more than others, even with those big parts. Like if you look at Lily Vanessa in Kiss Me Kate, which is a role that I've played, she has to be an incredibly strong singer and also a funny actor who can do Shakespeare and then also have a dramatic thrust within her acting ability. They didn't write a lot of dancing for her in the show. She does some, but it's not like, oh, she's doing a tap number. Like, because they knew the demands of the role were one way, they really were merciful about the dancing. She still needs to know how to move well, though. But I think, like, if you have a really big dance role, sometimes they maybe make the singing a little bit less aggressive or a little bit less difficult. So I think there is some leeway, but having to know all three is important. But the true triple threat is a rare thing.
And I think also the most value of a triple threat is really in an ensemble. because those are the people who are going to be, they're in all the company numbers, so they have to be able to sing, hold harmony usually as well, and do that while dancing, because most company numbers are big movement pieces.
And they have to be able to act without words in an ensemble. They're acting here.
Yes. Yeah.
Ditto. I have nothing to add. That was great.
Molly's like, you guys are awesome. Good work. Oh, we had one more question. This was a question specifically for Paul, so I'm so glad that we brought you back this week, because we would have had to get it, I don't know, an emailed response from you. But Paul, what question did you get this week?
Yeah. Is it scary? I have to look at it. Is it scary working with people from Broadway? Are they intimidating? Working on Broadway, you walk in the room, everyone is at the top of their game. Everyone is incredibly focused. It is a very serious atmosphere. And if you are not at that level with everyone else, you are not going to last, is what everyone would have you believe. It's not in the least bit intimidating. It is people at the I've broken Amber. I'm sorry. When you get something that I've found, there are a lot of people who will have you believe that this business is cutthroat and that people will step on your head to climb the ladder kind of thing. It's just not true. The higher up that I have gotten in terms of professional levels of this business, the more and more I have found people are in your corner. People want you to succeed. Because like we said earlier, you don't want to work with people who are nasty. So the people who are going to continue to work and get to that level are going to be the nicest people. So I'm at a loss for words. And I thought so much about this question when I first saw it. People want to put on a good show, and that means having a good time, and you're going to joke. All right, one Broadway story. I was sitting at my station at West Side Story during a tech, and I was positioned outside of the orchestra pit at a table with my computer and my score and all that. And we had walkie-talkies so the people in the pit could communicate with me. And I get a call on the walkie-talkie, and it sounds urgent, and it's the associate music director is walking me. Paul, come to the pit, Paul, quick. And I put down the thing, I run into the pit, and I go to the associate MD, and I go, what's up? And she goes, how you doing? It's just, you joke with each other, and these are people who are, responsible for $1 million production. And if you were high-strung and serious and cutthroat, nothing would ever get done. It would just be the nastiest place. Nobody would want to work. You need to be positive and happy and nice to get these things done. And that's what everyone is, from the production assistants right up to Scott Rudin himself. I know there are some stories, but he is personally a very nice guy.
I think probably our 8-year-olds from the Goshen Theater Drama Club have been spared the Scott Rudin stories, most likely. So hopefully. You never know. It's the age of the internet. So that's so cool, Paul. Thank you for sharing that. I think I have a sort of similar experience too with stuff, because I always find that shows are the same, everything's the same. I've done all kinds of auditions, all kinds of shows, and film and commercials and all of that. Everybody really wants to do good work and do a good job. And the people who are kind of mean and nasty and underhanded, they tend to not last very long, So that's great. I think that wraps up our questions. Thank you guys for your questions. We love to hear what you guys think and what you want to know more about. Never hesitate to send me an email, write us in the comments and let us know. We love those questions. But for today's topic, today we're talking a little bit about the Performer's Toolkit. we have a little discussion planned about like headshots, resumes, like the stuff that you're going to put in your little rep book. We'll talk about what all those things are, what you need to have. And then we're probably going to talk a little bit about like the one item that we all feel like we need to have in our audition bag no matter what. And then at the end, I think I'll maybe tease the topic for next week's show. So stay tuned. Molly, take it away.
All right, so we are going to start our discussion on headshots. I think headshots are super interesting. It's the part of theater that I just think is so fun. So if you don't know what a headshot is, it's a picture of your head, basically, but not a selfie. So these are going to be a more professional. These are going to be a more professional kind of picture. And that's what a headshot is. That's all you need to know. Okay, so yeah, the first time that I think I needed a headshot is when you're auditioning for something. They'll usually put, either if it's online or whatever information they're giving you about the audition, they'll say, please bring a headshot and a resume. And you're like, I should have a picture. So you can either go to a photographer or iPhones and other devices like that have amazing cameras nowadays. So if that's something that you either can't afford right now or you are just sort of getting started, I'm going to give you some tips on how to get a really good headshot, and we all are, so that maybe you can even take them yourself or like have a friend take it or something. But okay, so I brought one of my headshots with me. There's a couple things that are important. So this is one. So you should wear something that is a really good color for you. I had a professor that told me, Molly, blue is your color. It brings out my eyes. It's something that I wear a lot to auditions. And so that's something that I often wear. But then I'll have so this is on the back, but this is another headshot that I have. It's a little bit smaller.
I'm serious.
It's more serious. So it's good to have a couple pictures that show range. So maybe you have one that's really, really smiley, but you can also have one that's like, I don't know. But your headshot should look like you on your best day. It shouldn't look like you oh, I am getting my headshots done, so I'm going to get a perm, even though my hair is always straight. Look like you normally would on your best day, so that when you go into the audition, they also still recognize, oh, she looks just like her headshot. Another tip I would have is your eyes are really important. Your eyes tell a story. Your eyes are the windows to the soul. So make sure that, you don't kind of have deadpan eyes in your picture. Look really alive. So I'll hand it over to Paul and the Quarantine Queens.
As a casting director, I like to see a happy picture. I want to see someone that I want to work with. I don't want to see you as an actor. I want to see you as a person, because I'm not seeing a character. So I always was looking for folks who are who had a happy, engaged countenance, which is another word for face. So I really liked that. And I like the picture on the back being a little more dramatic or a little more silly. I've even seen what would be considered a costume shot or a character shot on the back. I saw a great headshot when I was working in Chicago. A woman had a beautiful, cheery photograph of herself. She was actually laughing in the picture, which I like to see. It was that. So she's doing that on the front, and then on the back, there was a picture of her as a saucy waitress pouring a cup of coffee. It's that's great. So there was a little personality on the back, and it was a conversation piece for her too, which was fun. So don't be scared if you have a little picture on the back of doing something dramatic, show range, do something fun. If there's a fun headshot that you think shows your personality really well, even though it's not you on your best day, you can put that one on the back. Yeah, I think also I like it when someone's looking at the camera, right? That's about it. Those are my only demands.
I think, oh, go ahead, Paul.
No, you.
Okay. Yeah. So photographers like to use natural light a lot of times for headshots. It just makes it look more natural. Makeup should be more natural. Guys, you should be wearing some form of corrective makeup, but nothing super heavy. Ladies, no cat eyes, unnecessary. You want it to look like you when you walk into a room. You can have corrective, but you want it to look like you. I remember when I got my first round of headshots ever done in college, the photographer was from LA, and he's like pretty well known in the industry. And his thing was like, have a secret when you're taking your pictures, because that'll make those eyes engaged, right? You're like, ooh, I've got the secret. What is it? And then the person who looks at your photo is like, ooh, I like her. What is she hiding? And then they want to see more of you.
Yeah. Oh, can I talk now? I love what Amber said about character shots. I myself am a more comedic actor and a funny guy, so I have some kind of serious headshots, but I never use them. This is me, much younger. So that's my first round of headshots / only. But yeah, what Molly said about getting a friend, these were done by a friend who is a photographer, but because we were still in school, she was like, it was much cheaper than one would generally spend on professional headshots. So students are a great way. Also, like bartering, if you have a skill, I'll give you piano lessons if you take my headshots, something like that. I had a friend who did headshots. Speaking of the character thing, he was just a very, very silly guy, and he knew the kind of roles that he was going in for. He was not going to go audition for Willy Loman. So all of his headshots, his most serious ones, are still happy and smiling and bright. He dressed very colorfully, and there were some shots that were just straight funny faces, gag shots, because that's his product. That's what he's going to sell. And yeah, definitely what Katie said about the natural look. Please make it look like you. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to be done with a day of seeing hundreds of auditioners and then go, who is this person? They didn't come in today. And then someone will say, oh, she sang Take Me to the World. And then I'll go, oh, that's not what she looks like. And it's just, yeah.
Paul, you said product, because you are your own product, right?
Yeah.
And Paul, I think it was you who last week, you had a story about someone who came in and his whole audition was marketing one particular thing about him, like the water bottle and everything all matched and stuff. Was that you? It was Amber. So yeah, so this is just one more way. Molly says that she wears blue in her auditions a lot. That's just one more way to make it cohesive. If you're a headshot, like I like to wear purple a lot in mine. And I mentioned that I wear a purple leotard in my dance calls to throw it back to the fact that I wear purple in my audition. So like if I'm wearing purple in my headshot, it's just one more thing to bring it all together.
Yeah, that's smart. It's product. It's yeah, that's the perfect way to put it, Paul. I love that. I love it. We covered expression, where to look, what to wear, what headshots are. It's a picture of your head.
It's time to move on to resumes, I think. Yes?
Oh, yes, Miss Katie, take it away.
Okay. So resumes go on the back of your headshots. Molly, would you hold up your resume in your picture again? So you'll notice that Molly's headshot is on the other side. Flip it over for me. See, it's one big thing. Okay, so what I've always been taught, most casting directors want you to staple your headshot to your resume because they may want to take it apart. There are people who print their resume on the back of their headshot. That is perfectly acceptable as well. You don't have to have the thumbnail picture at the top, but I agree with Molly. It's just one more look to show your casting director. Your resume is what tells people about your experience, right, on stage. So you're going to have professional theater or community theater headers or high school theater, wherever you are in your level of theater. You're going to have that at the top. And then you're going to, underneath that, list all the shows that you've done. And on one column, you'll have the name of the show. So say it's The King and I. And then the next would be the role you played. I was child number 5. And then over on the edge, you say where you performed that show. And all it does is it shows your experience. It shows what kind of characters people look at you for. It's just one more way of doing that. At the bottom, you would have like your special skills and your education training. So like you can put, if you have a BFA in musical theater from Missouri State University, but you shouldn't put the year that you graduated. Don't do that. You don't put your birthday or anything like that on it either. They can guess your age. Look at me. What do I look like? But yeah, special skills can be like, I can yo-yo. If you do color guard, I have like flag spinning and rifle spinning on my stuff. There are some shows that incorporate that kind of movement style. Shooting guns I have on my resume because, I'm just dying to play Annie Oakley. Driving a car, that's a big one as well, or that you have a valid driver's license. Small things like that, because there are theaters who they know that whoever comes and works for them is going to need a license. Like, I worked for a touring children's theater company. I had to drive a tour van. If I don't have a valid license, probably not going to be able to drive a tour van. So that's just one thing to throw on there. Guys, what do you have on your resumes?
On the
Molly
driving category, just real quick, and then we can go to Molly. On the driving category, if you can drive a manual transmission car, put it on there. And I know it sounds really weird, but casting directors for movies will go through people's theatrical headshots looking for 5-speed, being able to do that. Because if you're an extra in an old movie or a movie that's set in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, most of those classic cars are manual transmission. So they're always looking for extras that they can dress up in period clothes who can drive a classic car. And those tend to pay pretty well. And then maybe you get to meet Johnny Depp or whoever. Orlando Bloom.
Or any of the other stars of the 2001 hit Pirates of the Caribbean.
Those two.
Was it 2001? Whatever it was.
I also have, if you have a passport, I would put that on there, especially with cruise ships. If you get on a gig on a cruise ship, you're going to be going all over the world, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have a friend who we graduated together, and in the fall he's moving to Tokyo to perform at Disneyland in their musical review, huge show, for 9 months. So he needed to have a passport, and if it wouldn't have been on his resume, then maybe they wouldn't have even auditioned him. You never know. I also have, you can lay it out however you want. I have my education, so my BFA at Western, and then who some of my teachers were. So like my vocal coaches, my acting coaches, and then a couple of maybe bigger names that I did workshops with that people might know. And then in other training, I have some of those summer programs I mentioned. So I have that I did the NYU summer study, Interlochen, blah, blah, blah. Under skills, if you are a dancer, this is where I would list your dance training. So I have jazz, modern, ballet, and tap. Just be ready if they ask you. Actually, I should probably update this and put exactly what my level is of those things. But they might ask, what's your level of jazz? Be ready to say, I would say I'm an advanced jazz dancer, or etc. If you play instruments, I have piano and bassoon listed on here. I also put that I'm good with children and animals, just because there's a lot of shows where there are children and animals, and that's a good thing. I could definitely wrangle some kids backstage for fun, or not for, you know what I mean.
For work.
Yeah, and I also have my email just so they know how to contact me, and some general information like my eye color, I'm blonde, I'm 4'11 3/4, and then my voice type, so soprano, belter.
I love that, 4'11 3/4. I would remember that. Seeing that,
yeah, it's fun to just throw something in. Conversation starter.
On the having your email on there, my friend Dennis McKean, who runs Cornwell's Dinner Theater, told me this story. He had a round of headshots in front of him. He had made a bunch of stacks of folks that he wanted to cast in something, and he had all his first choice, second choice, third choice, he had it all done. And he went to his first choice for this role and looked at the headshot. He was like, I'm really excited, flipped over the resume and realized there was no contact information on it. None. No email, no address, no telephone number. So there was no way for him to contact his first choice for this role. And it was a 12-week contract.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So this person missed out, and they just had nothing on their resume, no contact information whatsoever. So make sure there's a way for them to get in touch with you. Please.
Yeah, Paul, what else do you put on your resume?
Cool. So this is an old version of my resume before it was fixed up by someone who's much smarter than me. But So I've also, if you have done work outside of the theater, I don't know if you can read this backwards. I have, you can see different headings, and you can see they get smaller as you go down because most of my work is in the theater. But I have a little bit of television work here, and one industrial, which is a fun way to, Amber was talking about industrials in our last video. So yeah, and then under training, so I have my degree under there, but then I've got, again, those names that Molly mentioned, putting your teachers there separately, because I can't tell you how many times I've been in an audition. That is more difficult to say than you think it is, and looked at someone's resume and gone, oh, you've worked with Dan O'Driscoll, you know? So don't, first of all, never lie on your resume. Just don't, especially now in the age of the internet. You can't get away with it. But, you know, if someone calls you on it and says, hey, oh, that's great that you worked with this person, I'll give them a call. You know, you can bring it up as a mutual friend in the audition to establish a rapport with the performer, but also afterward, you call that person and you say, do I want to work with them? Yeah, and then under special skills, all the instruments I play, dialects. If you have, as far as dialects go, I find myself to be, if I can toot my own horn a little bit, pretty good with picking them up. And so I don't specify, I just say dialects with coaching. With a little bit of coaching, I can pick up most dialects. But if you know you do a really good Cockney accent, which that wasn't, you know, put that specifically. Voices, impressions, juggling, certified in CPR and canine first aid. It's a thing, and I am certified in it. Yeah, and my passport. Certified dog handler by the New York City Department of Health, which is what got me my 2 television credits. Yeah.
I think too, it's important to list stuff like that, like in the special skills. It's always good to have fun. The special skills are a nice place to have some personality, just like that headshot that's on the back of your resume. I had a friend who grew up on a farm, who's a New York actor who has been on Broadway. Great guy. He would put fencing on his resume, but he would say fencing, and everybody would make the assumption that it was like fencing, and it said fencing, electric, and barbed wire. So that was always, it always got a good laugh. Always the last thing on my resume is amazing Glynis Johns impersonation. She was the mom in Mary Poppins. And like, I would put that as the last special skill in my resume, just so that people would like, I've been asked to do it a number of times in my auditions, but yeah, it's knowing that I'm good at funny voices and I don't take myself too seriously. But yeah, put something fun on the bottom.
You can also, when you go through and list your shows, sometimes when you look at other people's resumes, you might see a little asterisk next to something on the resume. And then at the bottom, they'll have like a key that tells you exactly what they were trying to notate. So things that can be notated, you were fight captain for that show. You were a child wrangler for that show. You were the MD for that show, along with performing in it. You were the dance captain of that show. Those kinds of things, you can just put a little asterisk next to it. And then down at the bottom, after all your special skills and training and all that, you can put what you were trying to say. So like for mine, I have one next to every tour I did with Prairie Fire, because not only was I directing children, but I was performing with them. So I was a performing director for children, which is a skill.
Yes,
it is. If you ever want to work on your improv skills, work with children.
I have a question,
Legit.
actually.
Molly's got a question.
You guys,
No, we answer the questions.
I've been thinking about this. So I know a lot of people right now have had shows that are canceled, but maybe they already knew, like I know myself, I had a couple shows this summer that I knew what role I would have been playing even, but now it's not happening. What do you guys think about putting those roles on your resume with an asterisk saying like canceled due to COVID-19?
I wouldn't do it.
What?
I wouldn't do it because I only want to see the roles that you've actually done. Because the difference for me as a casting director would be if I see someone who has played Hilda in Plain and Fancy, for example, and I'm producing Plain and Fancy, then I know I can throw at that person, okay, in the kitchen scene, this, and this. how did you interpret this line? Or like, when you sang this song, how did you do it? Or, hey, can you sing through this for me? And I know that I'm going to get a performance. So I'm going to expect a certain level. So even knowing, I think there is an opportunity there. Like, I was cast as these roles, but these shows were canceled or postponed for COVID-19. Like, that might even be an opportunity for like a new header in a resume that says like quarantined shows that were canceled due to quarantine that I got cast in with these illustrious companies. Like, that could be a header in your resume, which it might be a neat conversation piece, but now it's on the internet, so everybody's going to do it.
I think on the flip side of that, though, for say the college seniors who were in their shows and were about to perform, but they got canceled right before they were actually to perform. I think if you've gone through the rehearsal process, I think it would be more acceptable for you to put it on your resume. I don't think if you've done any rehearsals, I would agree with Amber. I think I would probably leave it off. But yeah, definitely for if you've gone through the rehearsal process, because I know MSU specifically, you guys closed like 2 weeks before some of you were supposed to do your shows. So like, you've gone through the rehearsal process, you know your roles, you just didn't get to perform them per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
I think that also leads to one other thing. I was actually just in a, let's say, heated discussion with someone on the internet about this, about how you notate if you were an understudy. And you basically, I have one of those right here that I did Urinetown many years ago. I played Billy Boy Bill, and I understudied Bobby Strong and Hot Blades Harry. So I put as my role Billy Boy Bill. I don't know if you can see that. And then in smaller print, understudy the other ones. Another that you can also do that with an asterisk, or another asterisk thing if you were nominated for some kind of award or won some kind of award for that. Yeah, that's something you want to let people know. So if you were
writing it down.
If you were an understudy, you put that as a side note, your role, even if your role is swing or ensemble, that is still the track. I was talking with someone who said, if you ever went on even once, then you put that you went on for the role. That's on your resume. You played that role. Not how it works. You put the role that you were cast in. In any kind of professional context, if you were the understudy, the assumption was that you probably went on at least once. At the very least, you learned and knew the track. That's the information that I'm getting from it.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, with that, Paul, or if you were a swing, to list that you were the swing for whatever roles. For me, I always list the role that I was cast in, and then I have understudy off to the side or whatever. But I'll put, like, if I went on, I'll put how many performances I went on for, just like a number next to the name of the character. So like when I did Waist Watchers, the musical in Chicago, I was my own track, but I also understudied every single girl on stage. And I ended up going on for 4 of those other roles. And for some of them, I mean, I've got 24 performances as one of the characters. I ended up taking over one of those tracks eventually. So like, I put the number because I did a lot of work for those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you put the role you were cast in and then understudy. And if you want to put how many performances you might have gone on for, I think that's acceptable.
That's smart.
Especially if it's a number like 24.
No kidding.
The equity rule, I think it's around 29 or 30 days consecutively. If you
and then you take over the role.
You legally, I don't know. You have claimed that role, that other person is no longer employed in that track, and you move into that track.
I think IBDB uses that as the cusp for the database. So you have officially, if you are an understudy for a role, if you've officially played it, I think it is 8 performances, 3 weeks.
Wow.
So 24, is that right?
Consecutively, yeah.
Yeah, consecutive,
all right.
24 consecutives. Then you get listed. So Broadway.
We had a lot of illnesses in West Side in January, as there was that nasty flu going around.
Yeah.
And we had a couple people come close.
Yep.
So to recap resumes, you've got your name, you've got like any special like equity membership candidate, or if you're equity, your contact information, your height and your eye color and hair color, that kind of situation. then list your shows, then it's special skills and education, and then any special notations. We'll put an example in the comments, I think, of this video. Yeah? Okay. There you go.
Represented too, that should be up there. I don't know if we mentioned.
Oh, yeah. If you guys have an agent.
I don't, so I don't think that.
Me neither.
Yeah, I think too, one thing about resumes is it's not bad to format your resume based on what you're auditioning for. Like if I was auditioning for a film, I'm not going to put musicals first. I'm going to put film first. Or if I'm auditioning for a Shakespeare play, I'm going to put my Shakespeare experience first, my other straight theater and classical theater second, and then musicals. So I tailor my resume for my auditions because I have a printer. I can print things at home.
Yeah, the actual computer file of my resume, not so much for acting, but for music direction work, is nearing 3 pages. And then if I'm submitting for something, I cut down and trim what I need, save a PDF, undo all the things I deleted so that I still have the master list. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's how I approach it too. Sometimes there's a specific skill that a character needs to have, or a specific skill that everyone in a show needs to have. Like everybody's big dancers in chorus line. You cannot get away with doing chorus line with anybody in that cast that isn't a very, very strong dancer. So maybe put that strong dancing experience first for that. That would be my only other pointer.
There was one more thing I was going to say real fast, and I forgot what it was. Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Couldn't have been important.
It wasn't, apparently.
Oh my gosh. So I think that covers headshots and resumes, you guys. Obviously, if you guys have any headshot and resume questions, let those loose in the comments. We will definitely address them in next week's episode. So Paul, I know you've got to have some insights about this. We're going to talk about music and a rep book. What is a rep book?
A rep book. Or your book, as it is colloquially referred to in the biz. I brought my book along, which I've got my headshot on the front. A lot of people like to do that. It's green, my favorite color, and memorable. Most people will just walk in with their black or white binders. Not this guy. So in here here we go. So this is the first page. A list of everything that's in there. As you can see, it's not incredibly long because I haven't added to it in many, many years. So I only have 6 things in here. So let's run through them really quickly. Here's what your rep book should do. It should show off everything that you can do vocally. This is music that you can sing that you are bringing to an audition. My first song is a cardinal sin in book building. It is by Mr. Stephen Sondheim, and many people will tell you don't put Sondheim in your book. As a musician, I know the dread of someone I was playing an audition once where someone brought in the song "Marry Me a Little" by Stephen Sondheim. Yes. Now that song is very difficult to play. In its original key, they brought it in a half step up in D flat major. So I sat and they put it down in front of me and I said, "Do you have anything else?" Because I am not going to be able to support you well. And that's what we talked about that last week. My job as the audition pianist is to support you. It's almost a duet. I mean, it's about you, but we have to work together. We're partners in this, and I want to set you up to succeed. Because I know my limits. When I was younger and was playing auditions, if it was a show that I was also the MD for, I would go out into the hallway before because I knew I could. If I was just hired as the audition pianist, I wouldn't do this. But if I'm the MD, I'm going to go out into the audition and into the hallway and say, "Hi, everybody. I'm the MD and your audition pianist, and my sight reading skills are not, a 10 out of 10. We'll put them at an 8. So can you just tell me what you're planning on singing today? And if it's anything difficult or crazy, can I just look at it really quick so that when you come in, I'm ready to support you?" That's not normal, but it was something I did to try to help people. So number 1 is Good Thing Going. I list the composer, Stephen Sondheim. Now, Good Thing the reason why I put that in there is it's a very easy, as far as Sondheim goes, song to play. There are also chord symbols in it, in the sheet music that I have, which is a helpful sort of safety blanket for a pianist. And it's a very well-known Sondheim song. So the odds of my audition pianist having played it before are pretty high. I do not recommend Sondheim, although it is getting more common. Jason Robert Brown and Stephen Sondheim, everyone says do not bring in anything by those two because they write very hard piano music. And you don't want the audition to become about the pianist. But this song is not one of those songs. If you are unsure, if you say, look, I just do a really good Greenfinch and Lindbergh, talk to a musician friend that you have. Don't do Greenfinch and Lindbergh, but talk to a musician friend that you have and say, can you look at this? How hard is this? Could someone play this?
There's also always equivalent songs. There's something that's going to show you off, that will make you look good, that has some of the qualities of a song that's too hard or a song that's overdone. There are other options, so talk to your friends too.
Absolutely. My next one is I Could Write a Book. So you're looking for variety. I Could Write a Book is from Pal Joey from 1939. Good Thing Going is from Merrily We Roll Along from 1986. Very different pieces. That's also like right in my wheelhouse. I mean, like I am an old-fashioned character actor. Like that's going to be, my kind of thing. So right after that is Accident Waiting to Happen from The Drowsy Chaperone, which is a modern musical, but it is set in the 1920s. So I'm showing, all of these things I can use for different things. I have two by Maltby and Shire because their music just happens to sound really nice in my voice. One from Big the Musical and one from Baby. Cross the Line, which is from Big. It is a cut of this 13-year-old trapped in a 30-year-old's body, which is how I feel most of my life, who just got his first kiss and he doesn't know how to process it. The next one is At Night She Comes Home to Me, which is actually an adult, and it's some find music that speaks to you personally as well, because that's a song that has always really resonated with me, so I know I'm going to act it really well. I just love that idea of I am here for her. I am her support system. It's a beautiful song. Look it up. At Night She Comes Home to Me. And then finally, I have one Jason Robert Brown. But again, as a musician, I know that it's playable. It don't make sense from the funeral sequence in Parade. Variety. When you're looking at the show you're doing, think about the style. Think about that composer. Well, I'm auditioning for Pippin. Maybe I'll do something from Godspell. It's by the same composer. Because they might want to see that you can handle that composer's style. Think about the character that you're singing. All of these are things that are going to let the auditioners know that you have done your homework. You know the show, which to me is a huge help. Okay, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I don't want to like overload you with too much here. Next, marking up your music. I know it's backwards. It's
actually not backwards on our side, Paul.
Okay. Right. So Accident Waiting to Happen from The Drowsy Chaperone. I don't need all this music at the top. That is not important. I'm not going to be doing anything. So why would I waste my time standing there while the piano player goes through it? No, I just need this right here, 2 bars, and then I start. I also have 2 versions of it. I don't have it here. I have what's called a 32-bar cut and a 16-bar cut. What you were just looking at was the 32-bar cut. Sometimes they'll ask for that. It's getting more rare. Usually you're going to be asked for a 16-bar cut, and in some cases an 8-bar cut, which is ridiculous, but I get it. You're seeing hundreds of people. I also have very clearly marked start and a big bracket right there, right? Do not leave anything to chance. No ambiguity in your sheet music. I've seen highlighter on pages. If anything, like this could be better notated. There is what's called a fermata here, which means I take a big pause. Maybe highlight that. Or when you bring it to the piano, say, I'm going to do this, and then right here, I really take my time. Just wait for me there, and I'll bring you back in. All of that kind of stuff is crucially important. As a musician, I also know the value of chord symbols, so I like to write them in depending on what some piano players hate chord symbols. I love them, but I was raised as a jazz pianist.
If you don't know how to do that too, you probably have a musician friend who plays either guitar or piano or who's done music theory. and they can write that stuff in too. And this isn't just for professional auditions. This helps for civic theater auditions, college auditions. Those chord symbols are just a little help for your pianist.
Absolutely. They basically, it's a way of just boiling down what is on the two staves and just saying, this is it. It's an F chord. Right? Excellent. Some pianists have a thing against sheet protectors. They don't like them because they can create a glare from the lights. I don't care. Some people like them because they're easier to turn the page. They have more traction. They have matte sheet protectors now, which don't cause as much glare. And some pianists have found issues with that. You're never going to please everybody. So put your book together the way you like, and the piano player will have to deal. I think that's everything that I thought of for this. I open it up to the floor.
You know what I did in my rep book when I was first starting out, and I'm really glad I started in this format, is I would do things in time period categories. And it wasn't necessarily the time a song was written, it was the style it was in. And so I would do it musical theater, time categories, and then I had in the back like special stuff like disco or 80s rock or whatever, so that I knew that if a show was in the style of a particular song, like if you did Rock of Ages, you're going to have to sing something that's probably outside of the musical theater canon. So I would always put that stuff there. And sometimes I'd think of new categories where I was like, oh, well, this show is in this style, so I'd put it there. So I had pre-1965 as one like category, post-1965, 2000s for modern stuff. And then I had special categories for pop rock, disco, novelty, like a weird little novelty song. And then I also had a special category for foreign language opera and operetta. Opera I put in my book, not because I am an incredible opera singer. I started in the classical world, but I put it there because there are particular shows where being able to sing classical music badly is a skill.
Jenkins.
Exactly. So like Souvenir is a play. So that's the play that actually made me put that stuff in my book. So from experience, that's what I would sort of do. So I would add those special categories. And also I would start adding songs as I got older. I would start adding songs that weren't necessarily musical theater songs that were in a good musical theater style. And sometimes it was stuff that was familiar to your auditioners, but it would still show the style without taking the risk of being oversung. Because you don't want to put a bunch of things in your book that are sung over and over and over. Like, don't audition for Annie by singing the song Tomorrow, or any show probably, because it's sung so much. So try to avoid the stuff that's oversung. Everything, Paul, everything in your book was pretty, not obscure, still familiar, but not overdone.
That was something that I really prided myself on when I was building my book. You want to sing a song that the people behind the desk will go, oh, I don't get to hear it much, but I do know it and I love it. Mm-hmm. I used to think, and this was something that I realized when I was an actor, I would like start adding to my book. Every time I did an audition, I was adding a new song to my book. What's the perfect song? And it would get to the point where I thought that coming up with just the right song itself would book me the job. It never did. In terms of like the overdone songs, just don't do it. It's a very, very high risk and mediocre reward situation. If someone, the thing that I tell people is if you're going to walk into an audition and sing Over the Rainbow, it better be the best Over the Rainbow I've ever heard in my life. And yet, even if it is, there is the possibility that I am so scarred by hearing it so many times that I'm just going to tune out as soon as you start. And it's really an uphill battle from that point. You have to know that you are going to win that uphill battle, which is incredibly hard to do. So I would really not recommend it.
There's an old rule that I heard, and I haven't heard it in a long time, but maybe it's still a thing. They used to say never sing anything that's currently on Broadway, including revivals. Like, don't sing anything from a revival that's on Broadway or any show that's on Broadway now.
Yeah, I've heard about the 5-year rule. I didn't know that it applied to revivals. That's interesting.
Because it's going to tend to be oversung because people are like, oh, this song from this show, I forgot about this song, and then people start singing it again.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are also like trends to it as well. A couple of years ago, we were at UPDA's together.
We were.
And I heard Streets of Dublin from A Man of No Importance, a song that I love. I must have heard that, 15 times?
Oh,
And unfortunately, some of the best renditions I heard of it were later into the process, at which point it was exactly that thing that I was like, man, this guy killed it. He was so good. I can't listen to him for another second. Yeah. So also be aware of like what's trending in the audition market right now. You can look at I don't know if this is outside New York as well, but there is a website which I'm blanking on, Audition Update.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where people who are at the audition will post what's going on there. If the unofficial list that we talked about last week, if they've started that, what number they're up to. That can really, that can really be a lifesaver. Yeah.
Molly, what's in your book?
So one of my tips comes from the fact that this has happened to me before, and then I'll also kind of go into some things that are in my book. But make sure everything that's in your book you have memorized and you can sing in the audition room. I was auditioning for a professional theater my sophomore year of college, and I had not only my audition songs in my book, but a ton of songs I was just working on and voice lessons that I was not ready to audition with yet. And I did the songs I was planning on doing, and then the pianist, they were sort of interested, so they were like, oh, let's hear something else. And the pianist had my entire book, and they looked through and they were like, how about this and this and this song? And I was like, and it was not ready. I didn't even have it memorized, but I had to sing it because it was in my book, and I didn't get to choose. The pianist literally flipped to a random song and chose it for me. So if you have to have like 2 separate binders, one that's like the stuff you're working on and one that's the stuff that's ready to go, even if it's not the song you chose for your audition, it's very possible they'll want to hear something else from you. So be ready with other choices too. And also just be very aware of what's in your book. So if they say, oh, we really liked that, Molly, like, what else do you have? Sometimes it's like, I don't know. Like, just make sure you like know what would contrast that well or what would be another good thing to show them. But I have, oh, sorry, Paul, did you can...
Just to that point, to the second song thing, to tie it into the overdone songs, if you do have this crazy good Over the Rainbow, don't make your first, put it in your book, because they might say, do you have anything else? Anything a little Judy? Oh, I have Over the Rainbow. Oh, yeah, sure, Over the Rainbow. Because they asked for it,
That's actually something that I do. So my go-to song right now is I Ain't Down Yet from Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Yeah.
It's very charactery. It fits perfectly in my vocal range. It's a golden age song, but it's not used a lot. But I used it for my showcase song. It's usually what I go into the room with. But if they ask me for something else that's comedic, then I usually sing Screw Loose from Crybaby, which is on a lot of do not sing lists, and I don't usually do it for that reason. But I like to think I have a pretty quirky take on it, and the times I have done it, it's gone really well, but I never go into the room with it first. But I'll pull it out if they say, like, do you happen to have something weird and funny? And I'll say yes. But I have Woe Is Me from Spelling Bee, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee in my book, because I played that role, and it fits me really, really well. So if I'm auditioning for that show and they see it on my resume and they say, hey, do you know this song? I can say yes. But yeah, I should have brought my book down here with me. I have a lot of contemporary beltier things, a lot of things that younger characters sing, a lot of funny songs, patter songs. I do a lot of comedy as well. So yeah.
Yeah, in terms of like younger and contemporary, like a lot of people will think, oh my God, I've got to have my ballad and my uptempo, my 50s ballad and uptempo. I've got to have my contemporary ballad and uptempo. I've got to have my golden age and my interpolated musicals and like all these different genres and a ballad and the songs that are you. Think of the roles that you have played. I love seeing a song from a role that is on your resume in someone's book. I love that. And yes, it's got to be tailored to you. If you're not a strong golden age actor, don't put that in your book, because you're not going to be auditioning and you're not going to be booking those roles. Sorry, Katie. That's the second time we cut you off.
I'm actually going to disagree with Paul, actually, because I think you should have golden age in your book. Because you, as a smart actor, it may not be the one that you start your audition off with. That may not be it. But I think it's like with Over the Rainbow. You should have it in your book because it makes you look like a smart actor. It makes you look prepared. So I'm just going to go down my list of things that that I usually tell people they should have it in their book. Golden age is usually top. And I usually have like one or two of each header that I have, and I'll do an up-tempo and a ballad out of those headers. So I've got golden age, and that's going to be any shows that are written before 1965. Yes, Sandra. Yeah.
Katie, I have a question.
Yeah.
Golden age is also very broad. So you can have something from that time period that still suits you. So it's a little bit of Paul, a little bit of Katie. Like it can suit you really well, but still be from the right time period, because the golden age doesn't just mean it's like this one Rodgers and Hammerstein thing. Like there's a lot of diversity. Like think of just the difference between Fiddler on the Roof and Carousel, which they came out within 5 years of each other, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just between those two shows, there's a ton of diversity between them. So there's something for everybody in the golden age. So
right.
Put something in there.
Yeah,
but make it about you.
I didn't mean to say like I disagree, Paul.
No. It's a valid point. And I like golden age was a bad example on my part. Everyone should have like one golden age that they like, I can handle this even if it's not my wheelhouse.
Right. So golden age, 1965 or before. Or in the style of golden age. Paul, you said you have one that is not technically golden age, but it sounds like golden age. So that's passable to me. Like that works for me. A contemporary, which is going to be anything 1965 or on. And I would probably go even so far as like 1970s musical theater, and then modern, like what's out now, like maybe have a couple of choices. Pop rock. When you're choosing your pop rock, make sure that it's going to sound okay with just a piano playing. That is key, right? Because it's gonna sound terrible if it requires drums and a guitar to back you up and really brings the song together. So make sure it can stand alone on just a piano playing for you. 50s style, jukebox musical style is something that I keep in my book. A country song. I have a Reba McEntire song in my book. It's called Consider Me Gone. Country is fun. That's for like if you're doing usually cruise lines or like Hershey Park or Six Flags. Those people always are going to ask for like pop rock or 50s or country. They're going to ask for those mainstream kind of songs.
There's folk and bluegrass shows though too. There's a ton of them.
But there's also shows that require those kinds of things as well. So, and then the last thing I really have that you should include is like a Disney-esque song. Not from Disney. That's the whole key. You have to look outside of Disney. So like I have two that I go for, and one is from Land Before Time, and it's called If We Hold On Together. And the other one is, oh gosh, what's it called? It's from Page Master. And I can't think of whatever you imagine. And like they sound like Disney songs because they're from cartoons from my childhood, but they're not Disney. And that's the whole key, because Disney is really weird about their copyright. They're very stingy about things. So
also, the Disney company employs a lot of musical theater composers. So look at what Bobby Lopez.
Oh yeah.
Maybe don't audition for Frozen with anything from Book of Mormon, but you know that. But a lot. I mean, Menken and Ashman, who did Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and some classic Disney movies, also did Little Shop of Horrors, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point too.
Yeah, looking at composers, looking at other shows they've done, that's your bread and butter, or going on YouTube down the rabbit hole for new songs.
Yeah.
A good pointer for pop rock songs that sound good with piano is to do rock songs where the lead singer is a pianist. Someone like Elton John, Jerry Lee Lewis, forgive me, Barry Manilow. I love him. But songs by those those folks, even ABBA, because the guy who wrote all the songs for ABBA, though it is almost in the Jason Robert Brown category of challenging for some of them. Some of them are tough, some of them are not, but make sure that you run it past your musician friends. But pop rock songs by pop rock artists who are pianists, not guitarists, are going to sound better with piano.
One of the weird things that I do, and I never use this because very rarely do people ask me to sing pop rock. Actually, that's not true. I mostly only sing pop rock at UPTAs this year. Anyway, so it's important to have it, but I love Ben Folds. Ben Folds is my favorite artist of all time, and he's like all piano all the time. So I have a couple of his songs transposed for like a female voice. And he has a song called One Angry Dwarf and 200 Solemn Faces, and it's hilarious because he's like referring to himself as a dwarf and I'm super short. So like when I sing it, it gives a totally new take on the song and it's so fun. And so when people ask me for pop rock, I'm like, well, I have this. And they're like, what?
Yeah, there's some pop rock folks also known for story songs, and that's really fun to get into. Tenacious D is fun for story songs. Harry Chapin is great for story songs.
First of all, Molly, I would pay great money to see you sing One Angry Dwarf in 2000 songs.
I'll send you a video.
Please. Secondly, yeah, the story thing, the idea of an audition is, we talked about this last week, you're putting on a mini performance, so you still have to have, even if it's an 8-bar cut, a beginning, a middle, and an end. There has to be an arc and a story to it. And a lot of pop songs, that's hard to find. They're a little repetitive, you know? So create a story, even if it's only in your head and it never is, you know, I will be able to see if you start somewhere and end somewhere else. In terms of songs that are not good for piano, call a musician friend that you have, or your piano or your voice teacher or someone to play through the cut that you have. I hate to say this because it is a good tool for places that are not big hubs of musicians and things, but I am not the biggest fan of music notes and sheet music plus. Their arrangements are a little sparse and their pop arrangements really don't translate well all the time. And please call a professional to transpose them if you need them in a different key, because their transposition skills are done by a computer and not a human being who knows how well it's going to read to another human being.
Yeah, you'll end up with B double flat.
If you have sheet music from that and it doesn't necessarily work, talk to a friend and say, hey, do you think you can make this a little more piano friendly? I do that for my friends. I make audition cuts for them. I also help them build their book. And this, you know, this is a service. There are people who do this, who do book building coachings. Yeah.
Real quick, sorry, before we move on, I just wanted to go through a couple things to like not put in your audition.
Oh, yay.
That?
Yeah.
Okay. So big things to avoid when looking for songs would be a song and dance number, because you're not going to be dancing during your audition. So like 42nd Street or Footloose, not good choices. Production numbers. These are songs that stand alone if they're so these are songs that require like the big magical production, lights and the whole stage and props and everything, like Be Our Guest or We Go Together, or You Can't Stop the Beat. Those are big numbers that require like an ensemble behind you. Probably not going to go over well. Signature songs. So this would be Over the Rainbow, right? If I hear the title of a song, I automatically think of a specific actor. So like Cabaret, I think of Liza, right? Over the Rainbow, we think of Judy. So those kinds of things, you can do them, like Paul said, if you can nail them, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble. And then plotline songs. So like the sole purpose of that is to just keep the show moving, not a whole lot of character work in the song. So things like All That Jazz or Bally High, beautiful songs, fun songs, don't really show your acting abilities with
but
that
it wasn't
song.
my fault. I was given those beans. You persuaded me to trade away my cow for beans, but without those beans, there had been no stock to the giant in the first place. Wait a minute, magic. Beans for a cow sock.
But yeah, those are kinds of things to avoid. And we'll put I have an outline that I did for a different workshop that I had done for auditioning, and I'll have Amber put that in the comments of our video.
Katie, I think it's my turn to disagree with you now.
Oh, go for it. Go, do it.
Let's go. What was, and I've forgotten now, what was the first thing you said?
Song and dance numbers.
The only exception to that, I had a friend who is not a very strong singer, and her go-to song was, if I'm remembering correctly, Music in the Mirror.
I knew you were going to say that.
It was either that or one. It was something from a chorus line, which basically says, I can sing well enough to sing a song that was written for dancers who aren't singers first. And clearly, I am a dancer. I'm doing a song from a chorus line. You tell me something with that song choice. So that's the only instance in which I would say,
I think that goes hand in hand too, Paul, with knowing your skills and knowing what's best for you. Obviously, any general rule is just a general rule. If you sound amazing singing Living on a Prayer with just piano, and that's your shtick, then put it in your book. But rule of thumb, don't put it in your book.
Correct.
I love it. So to round it all up today, in the round table, we're all going to discuss real quick one item that we have in our audition bag that we couldn't live without. I'm going to start. I always have paper clips with me, just in case they want some additional material. I have like postcards and headshots and like business cards and things. I also have other skills, like because I play instruments, sometimes I'll clip my musician business card onto my headshot and resume. But I have always found that having a paper clip is, it's never been something that that I regretted having in my bag. So I always have like a little thing of paper clips. Next.
For me, and I'll be like Molly, this is because it's happened to me, and I'm so glad that I listened to my professors. I had extra copies of my music in my book because I usually have like the full cut in the back of my book, and then I'll have like the 16 bar at the front, and then you can switch to go to the whole song if need be. I was really dumb. I was drinking some form of drink without a lid, and it was while I was upstairs and I was waiting in the waiting area, and I spilt my drink all over my book. Now, I used sheet protectors, so most of it was fine, but my specific audition piece for that day that I was going to be doing in like soon got wet and destroyed in the process. So luckily I had extra tape in my bag, I had extra paper in my bag, I had scissors in my bag, I had everything I needed to recreate my page for my audition. So I took that out of my other copy and I just cut it up, and I knew exactly what I needed to do because I did it myself before, so it's fine. And I just fixed it. So it's like, have extra, especially if you're a messy human like Miss Katie. Also, always have a lid on your water bottle. Always.
What do you think, Molly? What's your one essential item?
Ooh, okay, I thought of two. I've been trying to narrow it down, but I'm going to say both of them. One of them I said, I think on the episode with Aaron from South Bend Civic, but I always have a straw with me because I find that it's the best way to warm up my voice, and it's quiet, so I can do it in a waiting room. So just sing through the straw, vocalize through the straw. It has that nice forward placement, really connects you to your breath, and it's just that's my favorite way to warm up, so I always have it with me. And then my other thing, and this is like not a newer thing, but within the last year, I've always had this with me. It's called Tiger Balm. You can rub it on yourself if you have sore muscles. And I do a lot of dancing, and sometimes at these dance calls, it's long. And so I just have something like that just to keep my muscles like not from getting sore and being able to move and kick and things.
What about you, Paul?
As a kick looked like that. On my body, at least. These are also good. Mine feels kind of lame, and I kind of mentioned it last week, but book of crosswords, because and like that's so smart, Molly. Like you're thinking about dance calls. Like I just don't think about dance calls. But I know I'm going to be sitting in that hall for a while. I don't want to be just like lost in my phone. I think it keeps my mind occupied, but also alert, and it passes the time, and I don't get inside my head going, what am I going to do? Am I ready? Is this good? Is this, oh God, I should just go home. I'm going to be terrible. Oh, that guy looks better than me. And so I'm just, Number 25, Paul Rigano. Hang on, what's an 8-letter word for disappointment? Or whatever? It really just calms me down just to have something, and it makes me feel smart. If I'm doing well on the crossword, I walk in more confident. I'm a smart guy. I know an 8-letter word for disappointment.
I love that. I love like ways to keep yourself occupied, ways to be better prepared, and ways to not bother other people while you do your preparation. I think that those are all kind of key and part and parcel of the be nice to people, be courteous, and be well prepared, like cornerstones that we have set up for being a good actor in this business, and as an amateur, even as someone in their education, being a performer. Because being a performer as someone in education, like as part of your education, as part of what you do as your hobby and part of what you do as your profession, it doesn't matter. It's still being a performer. You still are courteous. You're still like highlighting who you are. You're still standing in front of people saying, hey, here I am. Look at what I can do. And I want to share this with you. Like that action is still the same regardless of where you're at. So I think that's awesome. So that is it for Goshen Theater Drama Club Table Talks for this week. That is awesome. Next week, episode 5, our episode 5 topic, as promised, is the actor's nightmare. What to do when things go wrong. Because this is the big fear everybody's been talking to me about. These are the big questions we've been getting. I'm too scared to get up on stage. What if something goes wrong? Guess what? It will. So we're going to give you guys some strategies to deal with the stuff that goes wrong when it goes wrong. And probably we're going to relate some stories about when terrible things have happened to us on stage. And sometimes when something terrible happens on stage, it's something that if it happened in real life, it wouldn't be anything. But on stage, it's a catastrophe. So we'll talk about all of that stuff on next week's episode, episode 5 of our Table Talks. Next week, the actor's nightmare. For today, thank you guys for tuning in so much. Katie, if someone was interested in Goshen Theater Drama Club, what do they do?
They should probably go to our Facebook page where this video is, where you're probably watching it from, and find our registration form for our camp this summer. It is probably 2 posts ago, I think. There's one attached to something, or it's just in our files that we've posted. Just check out our post, or they can go to our website.
What's that website, Katie?
Oh gee, Amber, I think it's GoshenTheater.com.
It's Goshen Theater Drama, GoshenTheaterDrama.com. And when
to cue you to take it.
And theater is with an ER.
It is GoshenTheaterDrama.com.
Because we're fancy.
Yeah, we're not fancy. We're ER. Theater.
We're a different kind of fancy.
It's true. We're down home fancy. Miss Molly, when is the summer program?
It is June 22nd through July 11th. It is happening no matter what. We have lots of amazing plans, so sign up now. It's 3 weeks. You can sign up for all 3 weeks, or you can even just do 1 week at a time if you just want to do 1 week. So check it out.
Paul Rigano, if you were 9 and you could sign up for Goshen Theater Drama Club, would you?
Funny you should ask. I am actually living a real life big scenario. I am 9 years old. The only thing preventing me from signing up is the distance between New York City and Goshen. Everything that you guys put out, I'm like, oh, I wish I had this when I was 9. Yeah, this sounds amazing and incredible. And thank you so much for preparing your students for success like this. The stuff you are all doing is fantastic.
Oh, that's so nice of you. That's why you get to hang out with the quarantine queens. So to summarize, go to GoshenTheaterDrama.com for more information about our summer program or to register. And thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Join us next week for episode 5, The Actor's Nightmare. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.